I'm Leslie Wright, aka English Cake Lady from the Royal Bakery, and I'm going to show you today how to make the satin bow from the juicy couture cake that I made this weekend. Okay, so we'll start off with our piece of fondant rolled out. This is quite thin, I guess, 2 millimeters, slightly less. I guess that's about a 1/16 of an inch. Now, a good proportion for a bow I've found is that each half of the bow should be square. So if you want to make a bow that's, say, 6 inches wide, then your bow should be 3 inches tall. And I do my bow all in one piece. So if I'm going to do a 6-inch bow, I want to have a piece of fondant which is 2 lots of 6. So obviously that's 12 inches wide and 3 tall. Now I'm going to just do this by eye because I don't want to be messing about while you're waiting for me. So I'm just going to cut it out. I use a sharp knife. I don't use a pizza cutter, but it's up to you, whatever you want to use. Okay, first thing to do is decide which is going to be your top side. This is going to be my top side. And I just smooth down the edges. Then I fold it over and just make something nasty in there, like a little crease there, just to show me where the middle is. And flip it over and paint just a tiny little bit of water in the middle on the other side there. Okay, flip it back over. Now this is where you do the pleating, okay? I'll try and do this so that I'm not right in the way. Start off by folding the middle up towards you, just doing a little pleat like that, okay? And then do another fold either side. So you're doing another upward pleat on either side of the first one in the middle. Obviously it's going to go horribly wrong because I'm doing it for you and not doing it for a cake. So you end up with something that looks like that. So the middle is folded up and then there's 2 sides are folded up and both edges on here and here are folded underneath, okay? So once you've done that, press it down a little bit in the middle, okay? And then you want to do the edges. Again, just paint a little bit of water on the underside. Do the same again. So you're folding up and then you're making another pleat upwards. This fondant is much too thick, by the way, but I'm just being quick. And then fold it up again. So you end up with a concertina like that. Okay, and then you're doing the same on the other end. This fondant on this side is much better. Okay, in the middle, and another one, and another one. Okay. And then again, pinch them together, squash them down slightly. Okay, flip it over gently. You don't want to make too much pressure on this middle, but paint a tiny bit of water again in the middle. Flip those over, but don't put pressure on it now. You just want to sort of adhere it to the middle. Flip it back over again, and then from the middle, press down so that you're sticking it together. If you did it the other way, you would start to squash out these pleats and it would look a bit, and it would ruin that nice bulgy shape that we've got. Now this is where it gets very untechnical. So I use things like this. Now this is a apple corer and I've got one the same, which is a lemon zester, and they just have nice shaped ends. And I normally cornstarch the first, it's just a little bit of cornstarch on there, and the other one. And I thread those through, and this is what helps give the bow a nice shape, and on the other one as well. And then normally I would leave that to dry, but I won't bore you by making you wait, a day or 2 till that's dried. I'm now going to put the middle bit on as well. Okay, so we'll just put that to one side. If it doesn't get in the way. I'll just roll that up a bit more. And you're going to cut off a bit that goes in the middle, goes around the middle. This is complete guesswork, I'm afraid to say. Right, flip it over. And you want to fold the edges in. And the same on the other side. This fondant is a bit old now because obviously I used it at the weekend, so it's going to crack a little bit. But when your fondant is nice and new, it should be fine. Flip it back over, so it just gives you sort of soft edges there. See if you can see. That's better, isn't it? You can see what we're doing now. Okay, then I get these wooden skewers and thread them underneath and just pinch a bit of a shape on there. And then I use another one for the other side because I don't want my pleats or the folds in the fondant to be uniform on both sides. I like them to be one on one side and one on the other. It just makes it look a bit more natural, so you've just tied your bow. You can leave those, you can leave it for a little while, but you have to be careful not to let it dry too much, otherwise you're going to end up with the fondant cracking as you try and put it around your bow. Okay, paint a little bit of water, and this is where you now thread it around your bow. Just squash those pieces up again. I have to flip it over just briefly. Have to be careful not to press down too hard. Let the weight from the other side squash it into place. And then just make it look pretty by playing with those pleats and folds a little bit. Okay, let's see if I can hold that up and you can see what we've got so far. Is it going to fall off and you'll be able to see vaguely? It's a bit out of shape. But normally I would do this in a couple of stages. I would make the bow part first and then do the centre part maybe a day later once the bow has had time to dry. Okay, and you do a similar sort of thing for the swags if you want them. Okay, so then I do the same shape for this. Fold it up and do a couple of concertinas. So you end up with a swag like that, and then I just crease it. Can you see? Crease it down the middle, and then I normally leave that to dry. And quite often, again, I'll use something like this to create the shape of the bow curving. And then when it's dried, obviously you just attach it to the underside of the bow like that. So it's actually probably easier than you imagine. It just takes a little bit of practice, and the key for me is just to let this stuff dry. If you try and do it with soft fondant, the bow loses its shape. The other thing you can do is to use rolled up kitchen roll or cotton wool or anything like that. So let's see, here we go. I've only got one swag done, but you can see how it looks vaguely. Now, to make that pink satin colour that I used on the juicy cake, I use this. It's a British brand actually, but you can buy it here. I got this from Global Sugar Art, PME Arts and Crafts Luster Spray. Now there is another brand of this type of spray. I can't actually remember what it's called, which is stupid. Edible Arts possibly, and they do sprays as well. I know they do a gold one, and it is terrible. So if you have the opportunity to buy this one instead of the other one, I would buy this. This sprays on so evenly, like like an airbrush, whereas the other brand drips and speckles, and it's purely horrible, truly horrible. So this was the one that made that lovely satin colour, and it was really epic, I think. So that's it. Obviously it looks terrible and it looks nothing like the one I did for the cake, but I hope it gives you some idea of how to achieve it. The key is just to make those pleats in the middle, to take your time and to let it dry between parts.